Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Actually getting to do a video in the middle of the day. Why is that? Well, it's because we got some bad news out of Olympia and we got to slap this video together and get it out to you real quick. It appears that the Death Star of gun control legislation, which is kicking around in Olympia this year, is going to the floor of the Washington State Senate tonight. This is bad news. It's really bad news if you're in the FFL industry, or bad news if you depend on the FFL industry, which really equates to all of us. So today, let's get you all educated, see if we could do something at the last minute to stop it, and let's talk about Washington State will kill the FFL industry tonight.
You know, you go to the range all the time so that you don't end up in the morgue.
But hey, where do you go to stay out of prison? Listen, we realize that it's pretty easy to find the training necessary to stay out of the morgue, but where do you find that training to stay out of prison? I got an idea. Why don't you just let Washington Gun Law bring the training to you? That's right, the whole month of March, we are going on a road trip to all of these locations so that we can teach you about the laws of self-defense in the state of Washington. We'll start from the very basics of self-defense all the way up to and through lethal force, and also advise you on what you should and should not do if, God forbid, you are involved in a lawful self-defense situation. So join us the entire month of March at any one of these locations. The registration link is right down below. It's also in the description box. Sign up now. Spaces are filling up fast. We hope to see you in March. All right, Washington, what are we talking about today? We're talking about House Bill 2118, one of 4 civilian disarmament pieces of legislation still surviving, and the one that we have absolutely circled on our list as being the absolute worst piece of legislation kicking around Olympia this year as it relates to your inalienable Second Amendment rights. Now, we've already done a couple of videos, so we're not going to get into the details of how terrible this is. You can check these videos out right here so that you can understand just how horrible it is. But if you take a look at House Bill 2118, which has passed out of the House, has gone over to the Senate, has been through committee, and you look at House Bill 2118 today, it sits on the Senate calendar for a second reading. And for those of you who know how second and third readings do, the second reading will then waive the third reading and it will be put on the floor for a vote tonight. This bill is sitting right off the launching pad. Now, a couple of important things. Yes, it did get watered down a little bit. So it's gone from an absolutely horrible, atrocious piece of legislation to just a really terrible piece of legislation. But if you are in the FFL industry, you do need to be aware that the amount of time that you will have to store video footage has been reduced. For all points of sale and where firearms are stored, you now will have to store that video for 2 years rather than 6. All other video recordings of non-essential parts of the building will have to be stored for 45 days. That is mildly helpful. Also, you will not have to move your inventory into a secured safe at the end of business each day, so long as your building meets the security requirements that are set forth in the statute. And then there is an exemption for home-based FFLs who gross less than $1,000 a month, which really, I don't know if any of them actually would do that. So there have been some watering down to it. Now, here's the other thing you need to be aware of, Washington, is that I found a little hit piece in the Seattle Times, always a bastion of conservative journalism over there at the Seattle Times, and they were in support of all of the gun control legislation that's kicking around in Olympia this year, with the exception of one bill. Even the Seattle Times is saying that House Bill 2118 has gone way too far. In fact, this is what the Times stated. House Bill 2118 pushes gun control to a level of punishment for legitimate businesses. The bill would require gun dealers to run annual background checks on their employees, carry million-dollar liability insurance, install steel doors or bars at businesses, and meet onerous requirements for storage and security systems with audio and video surveillance. Gun dealers would have to digitally archive some video for 2 years. Dealers would also be required to file annual reports with the state that attest to their compliance. This bill would impose costs on small firearm sellers that could force them out of business and open an even wider black market for gun sales. Some lawmakers may not like the selling of guns in Washington, but it's a legal business. The Times editorial board praised the legislature for enacting laws that ban the sale of assault weapons and ammunition over the past 2 years, but HB 2118 unnecessarily tightens the rein on gun dealers while using the public safety as a smokescreen. Now, how bad is a piece of civilian disarmament legislation have to be for the Seattle Times not to endorse it? Folks, your FFL industry depends on this. This thing is going to the Senate tonight. You have just a few hours now to contact your state senator and let them know that you do not support House Bill 2118, and neither should they. Okay, the House bill again is 2118. We'll link it up down below so that you can see what a horrible, atrocious piece of civilian disarmament legislation this is. If you guys want to watch the Senate debate tonight, remember you can do so at tvw.org. This is a piece of civilian disarmament legislation, so do not expect this to even come up for discussion until we're at least past 8 p.m. at night, because that's how they do this stuff in Olympia. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington Gun Law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is also down there in the description box. And then let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.